So I had no idea that video was about to go crazy. And there was several comments on there that I wanted to address, but before I do that, I wanted to share a little bit of my Afro-Latin experience. I remember a long time ago, I had to be about 12. I had went back home and I was staying for about 4 months. And my aunt had a burger joint and also a hair salon. And she was doing pretty well for herself. So she had I guess a duplex, whatever, a condo. And there was a girl staying there. And her name was Renee. And I remember she told me, I have this girl staying with me. And I want you to meet her. So she comes downstairs and she is honestly breathtakingly beautiful. She is the color of Nikita Thought. Is that her name? Nikki Thought. And she had this beautiful face. It was like a cat face. It was, it was kind of out of this world. Out of this world. I've never seen a woman that looked like that before. Beautiful, okay? And I remember telling her, hey, let's go outside and play. She had to be 16. I was 12. I was like, let's go outside and hang out and chill. And I was with all my other cousins. And she was like, no, I don't want to hang out. I don't want to hang out. And I was like, why? And she says, well, you don't want to hang out with me because of the way I look. So she was describing her skin color and the fact that she's Haitian is basically, you don't want to be seen with me. And my aunt tells her that I'm half Haitian, and she still is like, no, I don't want to, because I just don't. She kept refusing, and of course, that made me feel terrible. I was like, listen, I'm half Haitian. I'm just like you. It's not a big deal. Ignore the fact that I'm Dominican, but she was not having it. And that really made me sad, and I couldn't understand why it hurt my soul. I didn't get it. And it's because I didn't understand the atmosphere of what was going on in Dominican Republic. I wasn't explained any of this. And so I didn't put things together. I remember as a child being told, don't tell people you're Haitian, only tell people you're Latina. And me being completely confused about that. Why would I have to hide that? And my mom would put a wedge between me and American Black children. And I remember one time a kid pushed me and I was like, hey, because I had to describe him. I was like, that Black kid pushed me. And the teacher was like, you're Black. And I'm like, I am? And my mom looks at her and says, no, she's not. She's Dominican. And they get into an argument. I'm fucking confused. And so whatever, that's when I was little. So as I got older, I was seeing so much divide. And I didn't understand, because when I went in elementary school, that was another thing. Dominican girls that were way lighter than me would be like, oh, you're African booty scratcher, or you're not really Dominican. No, you're Black. And I'm like, oh, okay. But I'm Dominican though. And they're like, but you're not. And we heard your last name being called. You're actually Haitian. So you're not Dominican. And I'm like, okay. All right. I had to really try to understand. So trying to find my place and trying to find my tribe was very difficult, because I wasn't Latin enough for the Latin people. I wasn't Black enough for the Black people. I wasn't Dominican enough for the Dominican people. I wasn't Haitian enough for the Haitian people. So I just became emo. Okay? I just dressed in black and hang out with the kids who were a little bit weirder. Okay? I also hung out with some Puerto Ricans, but it was more of the ambiguous looking Puerto Ricans, because the Afro Puerto Ricans did not accept me as an Afro-Latina because of my last name. They didn't look at me as Latin. They just said, no, you're Haitian, and that's it. And I'm just like, okay, but what about the other side? They're like, that doesn't matter. So I'm like, all right, okay, got it. And then when I try to connect with Black Americans, especially the girls, they would reject me because they would just assume that I didn't like them, or like if I was competing with them, when I at the time didn't look at color the way they did. I looked at it like it didn't matter what complexion you were just another version of me, and you were another version of myself. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't look at it that way. And so growing up, it was so complicated, and nobody explained to me the hot mess that was happening in this country or in my country. So obviously, I get older. I actually check in on how Renee's doing, and unfortunately, she passed away from a heart condition. So rest in peace, Renee. I was so just confused and perplexed about everything. I remember getting dreadlocks and my mom having a fucking meltdown, telling me, why would you do that? You know, you're not Black. And I'm like, but I have kinky curly hair. Guys, I use keratin treatment. My hair is very much 4C. I use keratin treatment in order to be able to manage my hair because it's a lot to handle. So with that being said, I have my mom in my ear telling me, no, I am not Black. And then she's trying to bleach my skin, telling me to get a nose job so I could look more European. And all that self-hatred, like, I had to constantly fight that self-hatred and tell my mom, stop. And she's like, no, this is how it is. Like, deal with it. And it would constantly break my heart and leave me in an identity crisis because I could not fit the mold of anybody's perception of me. So that's that. And fast forward. And this kind of validates how I felt when Renee said she didn't want to hang out with me. I had created a group for Black women and Latina women that want to date Asian men. And the reason I like Asian guys is because I grew up watching a lot of martial arts. And then after dating enough Black American men and hearing things like, oh, you're pretty because you're Dominican, like that just gave me the ick. And I was like, no, I'm going to just go back to dating what I've always wanted to date. So, and most of the guys I dated since I was young were from a different nationality or ethnicity or race. So that wasn't like anything new to me. So anyway, I created this group. These two girls, I find out, really just wanted to take over the group and do some other stuff with it, turn it into some hookup mess. And, you know, they're talking to me about, so like, how do you want the girls to be selected? Like, what is your preference? You know, like, how do you want girls to be chosen to be in here? And I'm like, I like them to dress nice, have style, educated. And if they don't have to be educated, but at least open-minded and cool, and, you know, they love fitness, they have a healthy lifestyle, not just recently had a baby, because I want them to focus on their children. Like, you know, like, basic bare minimum stuff. And then I say, oh, and I literally said, and they both cut me off and say, oh, and no dark-skinned women, right? And I'm like, what the fuck did you say? And they're like, oh, well, I thought that's what you were going to say. And I'm like, why would you think I would say that? And it was interesting because the two girls were completely different. One was complected like Alicia Keys and the other one complected like SZA. So to me, I was like, where did they get that from? Like, did the girl that was complected like SZA think I made an exception for her? Like, that was weird. But anyway, when they said that, I literally got so fucking angry, but I kept my composure. And I was like, yeah, no, that's not it. Basically, this is what it is that I want in a woman to come into this group. And that was the end of that conversation. Like, I ended that friendship quite fast because it reminded me of how I felt with Renee, that people assume that because I'm Dominican, right? Like they forget that I'm half Haitian. Because I'm Dominican or because of the way I look, that means that I don't like dark-skinned people, or that I see them as different from me when I do not. So that's really frustrating to me going through that, because it's like people have these preconceived notions of like how Dominicans all are, and not all of us are like that. And the reason why I also mainly talk about my Dominican side is because my Haitian father was not there. And that's another thing. He chose to marry the lighter skinned women, but didn't marry the darker skinned woman. And I see that. And I see that in a lot of men of the Black American culture. And it's offensive. It's offensive. And he's a Haitian guy. And he thinks this way. Okay? So it's such a mess. Like, it's such a mess, and it's infuriating, because I just want to love you for you. I just care about what's in here. I don't care about how your hair looks. I don't care about how your nose looks. I don't care how your skin looks. I don't care how your lips look. I don't care about how you dress. I just want to love you for you. Okay? And I've seen Afro-Latinas and Afro-Latinas that have more Eurocentric features try to leverage the way they look when it comes to dating. And then when it doesn't work out, they're kind of like, I don't understand why it's not working out with me and this brother. And I'm just like, go back to your men. Go back to your men or date other men. But I know that a lot of the times they're trying to leverage how they look to get the best treatment by these men. And that's not how it works. So I understand the frustration of Black American women with the Afro-Latinas that think this way. I 100% understand this. So honestly, it's such a mess that we were divided. But we, at the same time, can't dismiss our ethnicity and our culture and our background to please Americans of any sort, of any race, because it's with whites, it's with blacks. They do not, sometimes they go, boy, you're not really black, you're Latina. Or you're not really Latina, you're black. It's like, why can't we just be what we are? Right? Why can't we just be what we are? But I think it's because there's so much negativity and so much effed up things that has come out of this division. The worst thing they could have done was give us flags, okay? And it didn't have to be this way, but it is. And I feel for the Black American women that think that we don't care and we disparage them, when not all of us are like this. Not all of us are like this. And yes, when I walk into a room, I feel like what people see is a Black woman. But also I know there are people that see me as Indian. There's people that see me as biracial. There's people that see me as Middle Eastern. There's people that see me as African. And at this point, it's like, I am whatever the fuck I look like to you. Because I'm never going to fit in no one's box. And I'm tired of trying. I really am. I'm tired of it. So I'm going to address some of the comments about how Afro-Latinos don't see themselves as Black. When they think of the word Black, they just think about a color with no culture. But if you say African American, they think about a Black person with culture, African ancestry, someone that identifies with their African ancestry. So I've heard a lot of Black Americans say, don't call me African American. And I've heard a lot of Black Americans say, no, I'm not Black American, I'm African American. So again, it's confusing to everybody, because even in America, they're trying to divide themselves by whatever background they have, whatever their lineage is, and also their color and hair texture and features. Do you understand how confusing it is? Because if you don't, then you don't understand why so many do separate themselves. But I also understand that Black Americans separate themselves because Africans sometimes do not identify at all with Black culture. I get it. It's because it's a fucking mess. Can we agree that it is a fucking mess? Can we agree to that? And I want to say this real quick about the whole light skin, dark skin thing. I understand the way I look, that I might get preferential treatment, but it's not good treatment. It's preferential treatment. Okay? And though maybe a darker skinned woman could walk into a room and be treated terribly, when she leaves that room, I'm the second person that's going to be treated that way, the same way. The only thing is that when me and her are together in the same room, people are going to choose preferential treatment in order to oppose their clear supremacist agenda. Okay? So I understand that the darker you are, the worse you're treated. But let's say there's no darker people in the room and there's people just my color. We're going to be treated the same way. And if one of the lighter skins is lighter than the other, there's going to be preferential treatment. It's not good treatment. It's preferential treatment. It's the same thing as being the house slave. Okay? So that's all I wanted to say. I know the comments are going to go crazy. I want to hear what you guys think, and make sure to subscribe to my channel on YouTube. I kind of want to have a real in-depth conversation about this because it needs to be had. And yeah, check you guys out later. And also, when I say you're a Latino, I mean a person that has the European phenotype, that looks like a white person. That's what I mean by Euro-Latino. A lot of y'all in the comments saying, but Euro-Latino doesn't exist. That would just make them European. That's like saying Afro-Latino doesn't exist. That would make them African. Do you get what I'm saying? But again, it comes down to it's a fucking mess. And it's all division-based. That's all. So if you see me as an African-American woman, cool. If you see me as a Black woman, cool. If you see me as an Afro-Latina, cool. If you see me as anything else, you see me as a sub-Saharan African, or you see me as Indian, you see me as biracial, you see me as whatever, I don't care. All I know is that at the end of the day, I'm not going to dismiss myself and where I came from to please everyone, but I'm not going to put people down, okay? I'm not going to put Black people down because I have some type of differences than them. Because at the end of the day, we all bleed red. And when I walk into a room, I get treated the same way as a regular non-Latin, non-mixed Black person.